Right.
We want to start off with a reminder that we are not doctors. Before you make any changes or try something new, always consult with your doctor and medical team first. Chronic illness can vary from patient to patient, so it's always best to consult with your own doctor for what is best for you.
Hello and welcome to IBD Determined. I'm your host, Mason Harvey. I speak from the role of a patient and I have Crohn's disease.
And I'm Mason's mom, Michelle Harvey, and I speak in the role of a caregiver on the podcast. And today's topic is going to be something that you guys might be familiar with. And if you don't have Crohn's disease and you're listening to support somebody, you're going to learn a little bit about
Mhm.
the
The
hidden
hidden
costs.
costs,
Yeah. And
expenses,
yeah.
costs.
So we're talking, yeah, like financial, like you just
Mhm.
said, and mental health as well, because there is a lot to it, and
Mhm.
I think, you get an initial diagnosis, and I don't think you at 11 years old, well, you were barely 11, I don't
Mhm.
think you were, like, thinking, "Wow, this is gonna be expensive."
No.
You
I did not care about the price of it. I was just like
right? Yeah, it wasn't like you were, like, concerned,
so I was like, "Oh,
um
Crohn's disease. Oh, no, that must be expensive. No, I have Crohn's disease. What is that?"
yeah,
Yeah.
and I thought maybe at the very beginning, like, maybe there's a pill they give him, and
Mhm.
for a lot of people, when you hear somebody has Crohn's disease, it's just like, "Oh, wow. Well, hope you're feeling better,
Mhm.
he'll feel better soon," and I don't think you're taking and it's okay. I mean, I don't think most people are gonna sit there and really think deeply about your situation. It's just normal for us, when you have your own situation to really focus on it, and you wonder why other people don't see it. So, we're here today to talk about that.
And bring it to light.
Yep. And you guys can share this if you have, family or friends that you think could learn something from this. That would be great too. Do we have any news or updates?
Halloween.
Yeah.
Halloween was fun,
Yeah.
and actually, it was funny. I dressed up as, if you know the band Imagine Dragons, the lead singer, Dan Reynolds, has ulcerative colitis.
Yeah.
And he does all amazing things. He makes his music. He goes on tour,
Yeah.
and he's actually currently on tour. And he goes to America and Europe and all that stuff. And the funny thing is, I'm wearing
Oh, you
their
are.
newest shirt, Loom.
I didn't.
Loom. So that's funny. I'm wearing that right now.
Yeah.
But for Halloween, I dressed up as Dan Reynolds from their music video called Sharks,
Yeah.
where he's basically a casino shark, and what I take from is he's stopping a corrupt casino. Anyways,
Yeah.
he's in a red tuxedo or red suit, and who wouldn't want to dress up in that? It looks really cool.
Yeah, so and there were concerns,
Mhm.
from mostly your dad, that people weren't gonna know who you were when we were handing out
Yeah.
candy, and so because we decorate our house, we put out a big pirate ship, we have, like it's like a whole theme like Pirates of the Caribbean, it's really fun,
Mhm.
and we may have talked about that last year, I don't know, but anyways, if you haven't heard, that's what we do, and so we have, like, this pirate theme with Mason in his red
Tuxedo,
tuxedo and
which
white
doesn't,
pants,
yeah. So
and,
people aren't gonna really understand.
yeah, and so Jason's like, "Nobody's gonna know who he is," and so,
Mhm.
so him and I, we dressed up as
Sharks.
sharks, and
Mhm.
so to give people another clue.
So, and
Yep.
and the sharks, obviously, if they're just someone with a red tuxedo running around on a pirate ship, people are gonna be like,
Yeah.
but if there's also sharks on it, they're gonna be, "Well, there must be
I mean, it
something
was a clue,
associated with it."
yeah, and I was happy because I got to wear a onesie.
Mhm.
So
Yeah,
it was
they're
so
nice and
comfortable.
comfortable, and I
Even the
think
dog was dressed up as a shark.
yeah, the entire time.
Yeah, she was
She
she
was
was a
happy.
shark.
She loves dressing up.
Yeah, yep, she was pretty cool. She had
And
fun
we're
too.
and we're already on to Christmas.
Yeah, so, like,
I know.
November 1st, I know a lot of you out there are like, "What about Thanksgiving?"
What
It's
about
like, "Don't
Thanksgiving?
worry, we celebrate
Yeah,
Thanksgiving
we
too."
celebrate
Like
Thanksgiving, but we just need the Christmas music, the
yeah,
vibe of it,
yeah.
you know?
And our house and, because we have so many Christmas decorations, for me, it's like, I don't wanna get them all out after
Mhm.
Thanksgiving and put them up for a few weeks and take them down, so I would rather start
Yeah, day
decorating
after Halloween.
early.
Everything shuts
Yeah.
down, Christmas goes
So,
up.
that's what we're in the process of doing right
Mhm.
now. You're doing well
Yeah,
health-wise. We met with your doctor this week,
and
and
I'm out of the flare too,
yeah,
so
and we're, and, some of you guys, we'll maybe end up doing a podcast on this too. So growth for Mason, his height has been something that has been affected by Crohn's disease,
mhm.
and,
Wanna hear 'em
Yeah.
costs.
Yeah, which is kind of like which
Here we go in
yeah.
today's episode.
Yeah, good job. So it is like a hidden cost of the disease. And so for kids, depending on the age you're diagnosed, your growth plates and things are you're going to be affected. So he's getting a DEXA scan. They're going to also check his growth plates. So we're going to get those two done in about a week and a half. So yeah, so he's going to be getting those done and then we're going to see if there's an option that we may have to meet the endocrinologist and add that one to the team. Maybe not. We'll see. So we'll
Yippee,
update. And
sounds
I
fun.
think that'd be a good topic after we kind of maybe learn a little bit more about that and see what happens. But yeah, guys, you should be if your kids are, they haven't hit puberty yet, or they are and they're younger, you should be probably getting DEXA scans
Yeah,
and checking the
check
growth
how the bone
plates.
health is going and yeah,
Yeah, it might be something you're doing too, and you're already monitoring that. So important to
very.
know and important to do. And also you're getting Invisalign.
Oh,
So, have you
yeah.
heard about that? Yeah, shout out to Dr. Gardner,
I
his
like how you're like,
orthodontist.
Any news to think of?" And I'm like,
Yeah, I know, I'm like, "Gosh, what have we been
"Eh."
doing?" I mean, we've been so busy, but with
Yeah.
other just life stuff, and so I hadn't really thought about all the, exciting stuff, but yeah, Invisalign is going to be that'll be in a couple weeks. You got your scans,
Mhm.
and, you've been going there for, like, 4 years. They've been getting him ready for this, and so now he's able to get them. So, anyways, that'll be exciting.
Yay.
So, yeah. With all that, we should probably launch into what we're gonna talk about today, and again, some of you guys, you're gonna already know this, and the other and for some of you, this may just make you feel like they get it. They see me, and we do understand because it's a lot. And, you never think about when people get diagnosed, you can be someone who could be very wealthy. You could be
Mhm,
someone who is at the other end of the spectrum and barely making it. And
mhm.
it's going to affect your healthcare, who your doctors are, and your treatments. It
And how insurance likes you.
yeah, it's tough, and I think some people in different income brackets will have different experiences with this disease as well. Not necessarily the physical end of it, unless they get better treatments and better
Mhm.
doctors, but there are differences, and we have access where we live to very good doctors, but I know that's not the
Dr.
case.
B.
Yeah.
Yes, it's different for everyone. Not
Mhm.
everybody lives in San Diego
Right, or in,
or
the other there's a lot of
where Mount Sinai is or
yeah,
all that,
there are
eh,
many great
other ones,
places where you can get good care
good
for
care of.
Crohn's.
Anywhere where Doctor Bauman is
Yeah, we're gonna follow her wherever she goes. But it's different for some people, and you sometimes have to drive a couple hours to go see a doctor, and you may not get a GI who's an IBD specialist either. There are just differences, and so, one of the hidden costs is just your factor of where you start out in your life. And so I have a couple of references. So we looked at like WebMD and my Crohn's and colitis team, and also, Crohn's and Colitis Foundation, their website. So I'll make sure to link these for you guys. But this is gonna be interesting for you. Okay, so one of the hidden costs that was discussed are doctor's office visits. And with the office visits, it costs you a lot of time.
Yes,
And
time and
yeah,
money.
money. And so you have that. So there's 2 different things. So a lot of you with these appointments, you're taking up time from your work days, from school days, and then you have to pay for these. And
Mhm.
depending on your copay, and the average that WebMD had is it's $130 to $180 an average for an adult with insurance, for an
That's
office
crazy.
visit. And it for us, we have a fairly good rate, but it's still expensive every time we go, and he'll have 2 to 3 appointments a month, and
Mhm.
so and then Rady's also charges
Parking,
parking
yeah, so
fees.
you
Yeah,
can't go there and park without getting, like, $4 an hour, which
yeah,
$4, sure, for a day or n not no, not a day,
yeah,
but just being there for the time in that day isn't much,
yeah,
but then over a year, that starts to add up if you go 3 times a month
yeah, it's
or
like
so.
$12 a month, and then
Yeah,
yeah, so it's just
it just
another
adds up, so
little
the
expense plus the
cost.
gas to
And then the
go.
co yeah, and then the gas, yeah.
So, you have the gas to drive to the hospital and the time it takes. So,
Mhm.
like, for us, just to go to an appointment for Mason, you're looking at about 4 hours, and
Yeah,
that's a large chunk of your day. And it's so, yeah. So, there's the gas that it takes to drive to the hospital, your parking fees,
and then your time.
and your time.
Mm.
Then there's prescriptions.
Yep, on
So,
top of that
on top of what you're paying for the office visits, and, we'll get into some other And that's when we say office visits, we're talking about just like maybe you're going for an injection, maybe you're going for just a meeting with the doctor, you know, physical therapy, whatever these things are. Okay. So that's what we mean. And so with prescriptions, I mean, there's things that we're not talking like, we're talking about stuff that is expensive.
Yes.
Like antibiotics,
Vitamin
enemas,
CP,
yeah,
vitamins,
vitamins,
supplements, steroids, which are not
yeah,
good for your health, and you're paying for them too.
yeah, yeah. I know.
Anti-inflammatories, and then the most expensive, biologics.
Biologics. And so we did some math. And so obviously all these things Mason has been on. And has taken all these things. And there's certain things he has to take every month. And even the supplemental drinks, you
Yeah,
do those. Those are so everything is above and beyond normal just stuff.
mhm.
And so for Mason, with his biologics, we are fortunate enough to have our insurance.
Thank God for insurance.
Yes, so, like, for his Stelara, they cover it, and I think we usually owe around almost $2,000, and this would be every 4 weeks,
Uh,
and we have a Care Path program that helps pick up that difference, and so we end up paying a much smaller copay, and
Thankfully.
the same goes for his Entyvio, which is a much larger bill because they built, like, a chemotherapy session, it's at
Mhm.
the hospital, so
We
we
can't
have
get it at
that.
home.
No, some people do.
Yeah, some people do, but we're
Mhm.
not doing that because 'cause they're still
Yeah.
and I don't know if I really feel comfortable doing it here, but
I think with you, they are more comfortable there, and, we
mhm.
have seen somebody have an emergency there, and
Yeah, which
they are.
can be stressful, and
Yes, yes,
it is reassuring to know that if anything does happen, you're in the hospital.
right.
Because I have gone to the infusion center, hundreds of times, and nothing's happened.
Well, yeah,
But
I'm, like, knocking on the table here, yeah,
if something was to happen, it'd be better there than here,
right,
because then they have to drive you to the hospital,
yeah,
and
and you'll
there's
still get charged because a nurse has to come to the
yeah.
home to do it, and there's gonna still be fees, but for Mason, with we do get some help to make up for these differences,
Mhm.
and, it's a huge help, but it's around $988,000 a year, so
Almost a
just
million.
under $1,000,000 for Mason, just for the biologics. None of those other things we mentioned.
And with everything
So,
else, I would probably almost inch it up to
yeah,
maybe 1,000,000.
yeah.
So
So, it's I mean, that's crazy.
mhm,
That's a lot, and so that's why, like, having good insurance and we're fortunate to have great insurance and have these care path programs available, but it is pricey for them to just be normal, like, to
mhm.
try to get to normal? And so the other thing is, things like emergency room visits,
These also cost money,
those also cost,
mm,
and then surgery,
which also cost money,
yeah, a lot, and these are all things that are
and
can be
parts. They cost surgeries and parts.
yeah, so there's the physical end of it, what it costs you, but the financial end of it is very expensive. Alright, we're back, sorry guys, we had to take a quick break because,
Mhm.
the sun was coming through very brightly, and
And
it's
decided that it was gonna exist
yeah.
again.
Well, we just had the time change, and so with that, we have the sun is already in a different position here than what we're
But
used to.
you're used to,
It's a little
yeah.
bright, so
Oh,
anyways,
wow, yeah. It's only, like, 3 for us, and the sun's kinda
yeah. So, let's get back to it. So,
that was terrible, right?
yes, so we were discussing surgery. So, yeah, so
Mhm,
surgery is extremely expensive, and then there's also your therapy because mental health is the other treatment. You
mhm.
usually and some people don't have therapy. You do. Mason does. We have a therapist, and
One of the best.
yeah, we were able to go through our insurance, thankfully, and she's great. And
Mhm,
so I'm just glad that that is something that we also get help with, but we also have to pay a copay for that
yeah.
as well. And
Your mental health costs money.
in addition to the doctor's off visits, you have procedures.
Mhm,
So there's things like
which
MRIs.
are very expensive,
And CAT scans,
which are also expensive.
your scopes, so
Which are also
colonoscopy,
expensive,
endoscopies, and like
and cost you some of remission.
mhm, and yeah, well, what do you mean by that? Because most people may not realize what you meant.
Well, what I meant by that is when you do an MRI or a colonoscopy, They have to do a clean out to
Well,
be
not for
able
the
well,
MRI.
not for the MRI. No.
Yeah, the
No, no.
MRI so
Yeah, yeah,
here's the
yeah.
thing, you probably remember it's a contrast fluid you
Yeah,
drink.
contrast.
So, it may
Okay.
clean you out, but that's not the intention
No, it's
of
not
it.
the intention of the MRI,
A
but you
colonoscopy,
yeah, the
yeah, but you
colonoscopy,
do
yeah,
drink something with
you still
with
drink
that.
something.
Mhm.
But for the colonoscopies, you have to clean out your system
Mhm.
because they have to see your insides and there's a
Oh, the biopsy. Yeah, I
biopsy,
think
yeah.
yeah, they do a biopsy
And
too.
and so what
Biopsies.
happens is when you clean your system out, which may not sound bad, is it on top of that, on
Yeah,
top of having to drink all that fluid and not being able to eat for a day because you have to make sure your system is cleaned out so they can see everything.
yeah.
On top of that, it removes some of
Mhm.
the
Yeah,
good bacteria
yeah.
that helps your flora. And so when that happens, it there's a chance it might throw you into a flare.
And for some of you out there,
It
you've
may
never
yeah.
experienced this. Some of you out there know exactly what we're talking about, and
Mhm.
this has happened. I don't want anyone to, like, freak out
It's
either.
different for everybody. This is what
Yeah,
happens for me. Remember, it's gonna be different for you because Crohn's is different for everyone
yeah.
else.
It's like, don't that doesn't mean to avoid your scopes, guys, that's not so but for some people, you have to pay for these procedures,
Yeah,
and then it costs you more because then you go into a flare sometimes. So,
which is never fun.
yeah. And the other aspect of it are like lost wages. So for people, and I can say this from a caregiving standpoint, it definitely affected my income. And I was, my husband, his job is one where since he's employed, he goes back. I was self-employed, so I took, I was used to be already working from home, and I was the one,
Thankfully.
yeah, it worked out. So I took on, when Mason first got home from the hospital and we were adjusting, I took on more of the medical care role, and it did cause me to not be able to do my job to the capacity I normally do it, and so I can't imagine for somebody who has the
And
disease,
they're doing a job themselves.
they're doing the job themselves, and, you can't, like, at least for me, I can maybe get some stuff done. I could still, like, it still costs me, but not as much as it would cost someone like Mick Mason, because if you're in a flare, you're not doing well, you can't do anything.
Mhm.
And maybe if you're working from home,
Yeah, you
you
could,
could
but
do some stuff.
if you're like a cashier at Costco,
Yeah, I
things
get
ain't gonna work.
yeah, it's difficult,
Yeah.
and you may end up not being able to work. And
Mhm.
so your potential for earning, um, those things can also be affected. And I don't want to say like a negative, because there are ways around things and you can definitely still work. But when you're in an active flare, or if you have surgery, or if you have appointments,
It'll definitely knock you out
it
for
can. So for
a while.
some of you, it will not really affect you, and for others, it is a real problem. And
Mhm.
the other thing is, if some people can't use generic drugs, I mean, this is I think what's happened to you. I mean, I'm trying to think of an example that we could give that you'd understand.
Okay.
So your corticosteroid, your cortifoam,
Uh-huh.
the steroid that you used, it was not something we had to pay more out of pocket for it. There was not a generic for it,
Uh,
and our insurance didn't wanna cover it, and so we ended
which is
up
always fun.
having to pay more. Yeah, it was extremely
Mhm.
expensive, and so sometimes there's no generic for something, or sometimes if there is, it might not be something you can use, like a
Mhm.
biologic. There might be a biosimilar, and, if you don't wanna
Welcome
use that
to the
one,
monopoly.
yeah, if you don't wanna use that, then you have to pay out of pocket. So anyways, sometimes it costs you more for certain drugs that your doctor says you need, and so there's a cost of special diets. And so, like, for Mason, we go through whole milk, like, we spend, I don't know, probably like 25, $30 a week
Milk.
on it, feels like. And so, because 'cause we're in addition to his regular meals, he does supplemental drinks.
One in the
And
morning, one
so
in the night.
yeah, and so he used to do
I actually do
3.
3, so 1 in the morning, 1 in the middle of the day, and 1
Yeah.
well, actually 1 right after lunch,
Yeah,
which
and
that's not fun.
now you're down to 2
Yeah, so
because
that's
your
good.
weight is doing really well. And, but those can be expensive, and then just certain people can only eat certain things. Luckily, that's not your situation.
Mhm.
And again, this is kind of one of those things too, where if you have more money, this may not affect you. You can order meals to be prepared for you. There's healthy options, there's things you can have.
Mm.
But if
But not
you
everybody is rich.
no, and so it's like, okay, so you also have to figure out how to eat a certain way, eat healthy, do the right things, and it costs a lot of money. So that can be a challenge for some too. There's things like out of network costs, and this is something you're learning about because you get to do the transition work
Mhm.
for it to adult medicine. So his doctors, they start training them to take care of their own medical health. We're preparing them to transition to adult care in a few years. So one of the things he got to do was fill out insurance
Which
questions.
is really fun because
It was really
why?
we talked to his doctor about this because she goes, "Yeah, some of the adults can't even answer the questions on there." And so, you might have might have labs done or have to have something done out of network because yours doesn't provide it or your doctor doesn't do it. So there's certain costs too associated with that, which can be expensive. And then if you have like an ostomy, there's supplies, there's things that are going to cost you for that as
Mhm.
well. So, and there's so many, there's actually way more. I tried to just highlight a few that these websites picked because I
Just
felt
a
like
few.
these were like going to be more popular, but there are plenty of things that are hidden with this disease that will cost you and are
Mhm.
expensive and will physically, mentally cost you as well. It's difficult. And, I had made some notes here. I don't know if there's anything you want to add. You don't see, even like Mason mentioned in the beginning, his height. Okay. That's a
Mhm.
hidden cost because most people aren't going to look at Mason and realize that
He's
that's
short.
why
Yeah.
they might think, oh, he just is shorter. It's like, because your body isn't getting the nutrients correctly, it wasn't growing as correctly. So you finally start growing in the past year, which is
Mhm.
good, but it took like 3 years to get you there. And so, yeah, so there's things like that. Then there's also things like hair loss. And so
Yeah.
some of you
Hospital.
guys may not experience that, but I do know in the Crohn's groups, a lot of people do. And you
Mhm.
did.
I did too. In the hospital. Yeah, in the hospital.
Yeah, he was in the hospital, and I think, the only thing I can think to explain it is the amount of stress, on you and what was happening and
Mhm.
all the medications are all of a sudden giving you were on methotrexate, you were on, steroids, you were on
Medicines you're not used
Remicade.
to.
So, it was hard to pinpoint, was it a treatment that was causing it? Was it the lack of nutrition at
Mhm.
that point? What was going on? You were on a, liquid diet,
Yeah.
and so anyways, he was losing clumps of hair. And his hair, we didn't realize actually how thin his hair was until now. It's like, whoa, it's totally
I think.
different. Yeah. So that was something. But some of you out there, this is something that I do hear discussed, and it does seem to be kind of common. So loss of time for school too. So a lot of kids, you know, they not only have to face what all the other kids in life, which is it's tough enough for kids, but
Mhm.
they're facing the physical, challenges of a disease.
Physical, yeah.
They're facing the stress of having an incurable disease,
Mhm.
and
And then they might be missing days because they're in flares, which lead
right.
to more stress, and then that all builds
And
up.
then you try to catch up because you've missed school days.
Yeah,
And, it's not something that's only going to last for a few years. This is something you have to learn
to deal
to
with.
deal with. We talk about 504 plans and we have a whole episode on those, which is really important. And that is something we helps Mason as far as like with his college classes he's taking, he has something in effect. He hasn't had to use it. We do the best we
Thankfully, yeah.
can, I
We
think.
just always try our best.
Yeah, like, I always am like, "Hey, stay ahead,
Mhm.
do not wait till last minute because if something does happen,
Benefits of
you
being
know."
ahead so you have a
Yeah,
cushion to land on.
but it's more work for you. So
Yeah.
these are things that I don't think other people realize that these kids have to consider is maybe they spend their weekends doing work to get ahead for the week because they have other appointments. And so and so that in turn is like social situations. It's hard sometimes to do the same things other people do and you take that for granted, how fortunate you are. And everything like for us comes with a decision, a thought process, that kind of thing. So social situations for adults are very difficult too. It's a lot of people have to cancel things at the last minute if they're not feeling well, and so then you're dealing with that and then people being disappointed that you can't make it or you canceled on them or they don't see you, and
They forget that you have a disease.
yeah, so it's really hard on the person, I think, with the
Mhm.
disease to constantly feel like something they're doing
It's
and
their
it's
fault.
not.
No,
Yeah.
it's not. Yours is not your fault.
Mhm.
You didn't cause it. Stress doesn't cause it, and
Yeah.
stress just makes symptoms worse,
Yeah.
but that's still not your fault, it's
It's tough, and that's why we hope, like, when we discuss these things, if somebody's listening and maybe had made assumptions about something, they may feel differently,
Mhm.
about somebody with this disease, and that kinda leads to, like, stopping things you love,
Yeah,
like, I think of you
or
with golf,
yeah.
like
I had to stop golf.
Mhm.
One of the other things that I was gonna add
Mhm.
is when I first got out of the hospital, I had a lot of joint pain.
Mhm.
My ankles would twinge. Twinge is a term that we use.
Yeah.
My elbows,
Yeah. Your I think your wrist
my
sometimes
wrist too, yeah.
when you would write, it was hard for you to write sometimes.
But one of the main problems was I don't remember I think it might have been in part of Remicade or something else because it seemed to get better
Well, I
after.
think the Stelara helped your
Yeah,
arthritis.
Stellaire helped
That's
it,
what I
yeah.
think helped it. Yeah, it was Stelara.
But before, after the hospital, if I would sneeze, my back would go out, and I
Yeah.
couldn't, like, move without it hurting for half of the day. So I don't really know what caused that, but even if you
Yeah.
went over a little speed bump or something like that, my back
You'd
would go
feel a
out.
twinge.
And
Yeah.
so, if you go golfing, when you
Yeah.
when you put all that power into a swing, and if just a little sneeze can make your back go out, that is not the best thing to do for you.
No. So unfortunately, like for and it's amazing because some people with this disease, their kids are playing football.
Mhm.
And it's like
Like we said, it's different for
right. And
everybody.
so I think it's just a mutual respect and understanding. Like, people post pictures like, look what my kid is doing. And it's like, that's incredible.
Mhm,
But also don't be disappointed in your own child if they're not doing what that other one is
mhm,
doing because it's going to affect them differently. And, some kids are going to play football and some kids are not going to be able to. And it's really hard on the ones that have to sit on the sidelines. And
mhm.
you're just getting back into golf, which is really
Right,
exciting for
great.
all of us.
Yes.
It's so cool to see him excited about it. He was able to go 3 times to the driving range
In a
this
week.
past week.
Yeah,
Yeah. So that's
very
that's
fun,
yeah.
and I'm hitting them over the fence, which
Yeah.
and then sometimes I'll get to the 150 marker, so
Yeah.
50 extra feet, but
Yeah. I can't make it over the fence. So he's better than I am, way better. But anyways, no, so
everyone has
it's
to
yeah,
learn.
so it's good. It's good though that it's neat to see him starting to enjoy it again, but there was many years where he didn't get to do those things. And you watch
Mhm.
other kids playing sports or doing stuff and they may
And you're
look
like,
at someone
"Why
like
can't I
Mason and
do
be
that?"
like, or they might be like, why isn't Mason doing that? And it's like
Mhm.
he's asking himself the same question and it's very
Yeah,
frustrating for him. And so that's kind of like being misunderstood,
yeah.
I think, is people think maybe Crohn's people are antisocial or they don't want to do things. And it's like, that's not the case. The disease will hold you back in a lot of ways. And it just is what it
Mhm.
is. And I think people need to, just be more
Understanding,
understanding
yeah.
and
Yeah, definitely.
kind of this. And even people with this disease, be understanding of other people with it and understand they're not going to be the same. It's frustrating for me as a caregiver having to explain to people why we couldn't make something because of
Mhm.
you and me getting blamed for it. And
It's
it's
always rude.
yeah, and then I can see though how it would feel for someone like you as an adult if you have to turn something down, you know. So anyways, I just yeah, it's about the disease. It's not
Mhm,
always about you. It's just unfortunate. And so I see
mhm.
that cost is maybe people kind of distancing themselves because they think something and it's not. It's
No.
just misunderstanding. So
Just accept that they might be in a
mhm.
flare right now.
And
It's just
so
that simple.
but the other thing is just like, I think one of the cool things for Mason is because you've known so young and you've learned to live with it,
Mhm.
is maybe like when you are right now looking for potential career, you probably want to find something that would
Suits
work
it,
with
yeah.
it. Yeah. Cause instead of having to like
Fight it.
fight it and be stressed and like, it's like
Don't
maybe,
fight your disease, work with it.
mhm.
But
And
then once
so,
there's a cure, fight it.
yeah. But I think that's a cool thing for you,
Mhm.
that some adults are already in their profession and this happens, and,
That's stressful.
but for you, you can kinda plan for that. So it's kind of that's I think that's interesting. And then one of the last notes I have is just the loss of time, memories, things that are taken from you that you
Could
really
have
don't
had.
have yeah.
Mhm.
So, I think that is one of the hidden costs too, is that a lot of people don't see that and realize how frustrating that can be for
Mhm.
some people. And so like I said, there's many more and this wasn't I don't want this to be like a negative episode.
Yeah.
I just want it to be more of a reinforcement that we get
Help
it.
teach.
Yeah, well help teach, right?
Yeah,
That's a good one, right? Help
help
teach.
educate others.
And for you that have this disease, we don't really probably need to educate you on this. You unfortunately probably know, but I think it's just good to hear somebody talking about it and vocalizing it and putting it out there so others are aware and it might make you feel more seen and more understood, and that is always my hope with these, is that we do something that helps, and we're not trying to be negative because things can change, and it's but it is what it is, and it is you guys out there that are fighting this are really amazing to me because you do have to
Mhm.
overcome
A
more.
lot.
Yeah, and I think you deserve that respect, and it doesn't mean you don't try, you don't go for things and you give up, no, but there should be way more respect, like, "Hey, they're living the life, but on top of that, they're handling this," and
They're doing great,
yeah, so pat on the back also is what this episode is, say, "We recognize you, we see you, and good job on just living."
Yeah, great job on living.
Just getting
Yeah,
through
making the best
a
out of your
day.
life. Making the
Yeah,
best out of
yeah,
your life.
and it's not just IBD, there's other diseases out
Mhm.
there, other chronic
Other
illnesses,
things.
all kinds of things that make life a little different, and other people don't see it. So, hopefully that
Some
kinda helped you guys today, reassured some of you that you're not alone in all of
help
this
someone learn.
and helped somebody learn. That would be really cool. So that's it for this week's podcast.
Yep,
And we're doing these every 2 weeks
every
now.
2 weeks
So,
now
which has
instead of
been,
1 week.
yeah, which is still
So,
seems really quick on our end.
yeah,
So
but it's
hopefully though,
nice. It's
yeah, it
nice, yeah.
is. But hopefully for you guys, it's working well.
Yeah.
So
And hopefully this was entertaining.
yeah.
Hopefully.
Yeah, I feel like I feel like really this episode for some people is like, "Yeah, and we know all this," but I
Mhm.
think it's important
Yeah.
to talk about
There
and
might be some
share.
people who don't understand,
Mhm.
so
It's part of raising awareness, and I
raising
think,
awareness.
you may live it, so you keep it to yourself because it's so normal, but unless we put it out there and others hear these stories and others hear about it,
They're not gonna learn about
they're
it.
not gonna learn, not gonna know about it. So,
Mm.
sometimes we share these things and just kinda have an episode where we just sit back and talk like this, and hope you guys liked it. Hope
Yeah,
So,
hopefully.
give us a follow at Team IB Determined, and you can see all of our Halloween pictures.
Yeah.
You can see Mason dressed as Dan Reynolds,
Yeah.
and join the Reggie Project.
Yeah.
We also have Carmentude Candles. You guys give us a follow there. We are hitting full swing here for the holiday season with our candles, and 15% of proceeds go to the Crohn's and Colitis Foundation. It's why we started it. And so it's our business.
Mhm.
And hopefully, you guys, if you need any holiday candles, you can check that out. You can follow us on Instagram at Karmatude Candles. Go to our website
Support
also.
us.
Yeah, it would be, supports us, a family business,
Mhm.
and also supports the Crohn's and Colitis Foundation.
Yes. Support us
So,
and the Crimson Cloud Foundation. Help find
yeah.
research.
And
Find
then
research.
if you're listening, you're probably listening on one of the Spotify, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, Apple Podcasts, or YouTube, or any of the other stations
Mhm.
we're on a lot, which
Which are linked to Buzzsprout,
yep.
which will be linked in the description.
Yeah.
There's actually, like she mentioned, YouTube podcasts, which are still kind of new.
Yeah.
But if you want to watch us as well as hear us, you're not just gonna watch us. Um, there's always YouTube, just normal YouTube videos. And if you already are watching us on the videos or on the YouTube podcast, make sure to give us a like and subscribe. And if you want to be notified every time we post a video, make sure to hit that bell icon because
Yes.
that's going to notify you every time we post a video, unlike subscribing. It will
Yeah.
just recommend us more.
With that said, hope you guys all have a great weekend,
Weekend,
week,
week.
work week, whatever it is, make it a good one.
Have a great Christmas season,
Yeah, I know
Thanksgiving
that's what you're
season,
focused on. If it was up to him, he was already wearing a
Christmas and
Christmas shirt.
turkeys.
Like, yeah, he's ready to go. So, anyways, yeah, have a great start to the holiday season, guys. Hope everyone had a good, happy Halloween, and we'll see you guys in 2 weeks.
Yeah, the
So,
next
on the
episode.
next episode, yep. All right, see you guys then.
Peace. Bye.
Bye.
Bye. We hope you will stick around, tune in, and reach out to us with your own journeys. We are excited to give you an inside view of what it takes to be a caregiver and what it's like to be a patient.
And most of all, we hope you'll maybe be able to play something you hear on here that might help you in your own life. Sometimes life changes, and it's all about how you handle the journey.